Sumber daya manusia merupakan suatu faktor utama yang penting dalam tiap proses pembangunan organisasi dan harus dikelola dengan baik agar efektivitas dan efisiensi organisasi semakin meningkat. Saat ini, sumber daya manusia tidak lagi dipandang hanya sebagai sumber daya, namun merupakan suatu modal atau aset dalam sebuah organisasi. Dengan kata lain, saat ini istilah human resource sudah beralih menjadi human capital. Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur resmi terbentuk pada tanggal 11 Maret 1991 dengan nomenklatur pendidikan dan latihan Provinsi Kalimantan Timur sesuai Peraturan Gubernur Kalimantan Timur Nomor 443 Tahun 2023 tentang kedudukan, susunan organisasi, tugas fungsi, uraian tugas dan tata kerja perangkat daerah, menyelenggarakan fungsinya sebagai penyusunan kebijakan teknis, rencana dan program pengembangan sumber daya manusia, penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, penyelenggaraan sertifikasi kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, pemantauan, evaluasi, dan pelaporan atas pelaksanaan pengembangan sumber daya aparatur di provinsi, pelaksanaan administrasi Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi, dan pelaksanaan tugas lain yang diberikan oleh Gubernur Kalimantan Timur.
Dalam melaksanakan tugas dan fungsinya, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dipimpin oleh Ibu Dr. Anda Nina Dewi MAP membawahi 4 bidang. Bidang sertifikasi kompetensi pengelolaan kelembagaan, bidang pengembangan kompetensi teknis, bidang pengembangan kompetensi manajerial dan fungsional, bidang sekretariat, membawahi bagian umum kepegawaian dan perencanaan program keuangan. Dengan 21 pejabat fungsional widya iswara dan pejabat fungsional lainnya, serta pelaksana.
Untuk mendukung kegiatan transformasi mental dan fisik, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur menyediakan berbagai fasilitas pendukung, mulai dari lapangan upacara, studio multimedia, fitness center gimnasium,
lapangan basket dan futsal,
laboratorium komputer, perpustakaan, unit kesehatan, ruang laktasi, ruang makan.
Sedangkan untuk menyentuh transformasi spiritual, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia juga menyediakan fasilitas masjid sebagai sarana ibadah bagi pegawai BPSDM serta peserta diklat dan masyarakat umum.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur mempunyai tujuan dan sasaran. Tujuan dalam mewujudkan sumber daya manusia aparatur yang profesional dalam pelayanan publik dengan sasaran meningkatkan mutu pelayanan penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi, berkembangnya pengelolaan sertifikasi kompetensi, dan meningkatkan pemenuhan hak aparatur sipil negara dalam memperoleh pengembangan kompetensi.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui portal digital KIS Knowledge Integrated Solution System yang mengintegrasi pengelolaan model pelajaran, manajemen pengetahuan, serta pemenuhan kewajiban, pengembangan kompetensi bagi aparatur sipil negara. Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia.
Hai, jangan lupa di like dan follow seluruh akun media sosial BPSDM Prof Kaltim. Ditunggu ya.
Untuk menyelaraskan strategi, kebijakan, dan arah program pembangunan nasional Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur menghadirkan Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia. Melalui Corporate University akan tercipta organisasi yang memiliki nilai tambah dari aspek pengetahuan, pengalaman, dan keahlian serta kebanggaan yang menjadi pematik api engagement ke tingkat yang lebih besar bagi sumber daya manusia di dalamnya, sehingga diharapkan akan tercipta SDM aparatur yang unggul, tangguh, berkualitas, berdaya saing tinggi, dan mandiri untuk mendukung pembangunan nasional. Kalimantan Timur Corporate University akan menciptakan entitas pendidikan strategis melalui BPSDM Provinsi Kalimantan Timur sebagai motor penggerak yang bersinergi dengan seluruh perangkat daerah di pemerintah Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dalam rangka menciptakan learning organization dan knowledge management sebagai upaya mencapai visi misi yang pada implementasinya berlandaskan budaya pengetahuan, budaya pembelajaran, dan budaya kebijaksanaan. Sebagai langkah awal Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur meluncurkan sebuah portal digital yang mengintegrasikan pengelolaan model pembelajaran, manajemen pengetahuan, dan pelatihan yang terintegrasi dalam menunjang pencapaian kinerja organisasi yang dikenal sebagai KISS, Knowledge Integrated Solution System. Selain dilengkapi dengan berbagai aplikasi untuk mempermudah manajemen pelatihan, portal KISS juga dilengkapi dengan fitur-fitur pembelajaran secara mandiri, seperti video pembelajaran dan webinar yang bekerja sama dengan lembaga non-pemerintah untuk mengakomodir peningkatan kompetensi SDM dan fitur-fitur lainnya yang bertujuan untuk mengembangkan kompetensi SDM aparatur secara tepat, efektif dan efisien demi tercapainya pembangunan nasional, serta untuk mewujudkan peraturan pemerintah nomor 17 tahun 2020 tentang manajemen PNS terkait pemenuhan hak untuk memperoleh pengembangan kompetensi bagi ASN, minimal 20 jam pelajaran bagi pegawai negeri sipil dan maksimal 24 jam pelajaran bagi pegawai pemerintah dengan perjanjian kerja.
Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia.
Sumber daya manusia merupakan suatu faktor utama yang penting dalam tiap proses pembangunan organisasi dan harus dikelola dengan baik agar efektivitas dan efisiensi organisasi semakin meningkat. Saat ini, sumber daya manusia tidak lagi dipandang hanya sebagai sumber daya, namun merupakan suatu modal atau aset dalam sebuah organisasi. Dengan kata lain, saat ini istilah human resource sudah beralih menjadi human capital. Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur resmi terbentuk pada tanggal 11 Maret 1991 dengan nomenklatur pendidikan dan latihan Provinsi Kalimantan Timur sesuai Peraturan Gubernur Kalimantan Timur Nomor 43 Tahun 2023 tentang kedudukan, susunan organisasi tugas fungsi, uraian tugas dan tata kerja perangkat daerah, menyelenggarakan fungsinya sebagai penyusunan kebijakan teknis, rencana dan program pengembangan sumber daya manusia, penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, penyelenggaraan sertifikasi kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, pemantauan, evaluasi, dan pelaporan atas pelaksanaan pengembangan sumber daya aparatur di provinsi, pelaksanaan administrasi Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi, dan pelaksanaan tugas lain yang diberikan oleh Gubernur Kalimantan Timur.
Dalam melaksanakan tugas dan fungsinya, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dipimpin oleh Ibu Dr. Anda Nina Dewi MAP membawahi 4 bidang. Bidang sertifikasi kompetensi pengelolaan kelembagaan, bidang pengembangan kompetensi teknis, bidang pengembangan kompetensi manajerial dan fungsional, bidang sekretariat, membawahi bagian umum kepegawaian dan perencanaan program keuangan. Dengan 21 pejabat fungsional widya iswara dan pejabat fungsional lainnya, serta pelaksana.
Untuk mendukung kegiatan transformasi mental dan fisik, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur menyediakan berbagai fasilitas pendukung, mulai dari lapangan upacara, studio multimedia, fitness center gimnasium,
Lapangan basket dan futsal,
laboratorium komputer, perpustakaan, unit kesehatan, ruang laktasi, ruang makan.
Sedangkan untuk menyentuh transformasi spiritual, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia juga menyediakan fasilitas masjid sebagai sarana ibadah bagi pegawai BPSDM serta peserta diklat dan masyarakat umum.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur mempunyai tujuan dan sasaran. Tujuan dalam mewujudkan sumber daya manusia aparatur yang profesional dalam pelayanan publik dengan sasaran meningkatkan mutu pelayanan penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi, berkembangnya pengelolaan sertifikasi kompetensi, dan meningkatkan pemenuhan hak aparatur sipil negara dalam memperoleh pengembangan kompetensi.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui portal digital KIS Knowledge Integrated Solution System yang mengintegrasi pengelolaan model pelajaran, manajemen pengetahuan, serta pemenuhan kewajiban, pengembangan kompetensi bagi aparatur sipil negara. Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia.
Hai, jangan lupa di like dan follow seluruh akun media sosial BPSDM Prof Kaltim. Ditunggu ya.
Untuk menyelaraskan strategi, kebijakan, dan arah program pembangunan nasional Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur menghadirkan Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia. Melalui Corporate University akan tercipta organisasi yang memiliki nilai tambah dari aspek pengetahuan, pengalaman, dan keahlian serta kebanggaan yang menjadi pematik api engagement ke tingkat yang lebih besar bagi sumber daya manusia di dalamnya, sehingga diharapkan akan tercipta SDM aparatur yang unggul, tangguh, berkualitas, berdaya saing tinggi, dan mandiri untuk mendukung pembangunan nasional. Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, akan menciptakan entitas pendidikan strategis melalui BPSDM Provinsi Kalimantan Timur sebagai motor penggerak yang bersinergi dengan seluruh perangkat daerah di pemerintah Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dalam rangka menciptakan learning organization dan knowledge management sebagai upaya mencapai visi misi yang pada implementasinya berlandaskan budaya pengetahuan, budaya pembelajaran, dan budaya kebijaksanaan. Sebagai langkah awal Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur meluncurkan sebuah portal digital yang mengintegrasikan pengelolaan model pembelajaran, manajemen pengetahuan, dan pelatihan yang terintegrasi dalam menunjang pencapaian kinerja organisasi yang dikenal sebagai KISS, Knowledge Integrated Solution System. Selain dilengkapi dengan berbagai aplikasi untuk mempermudah manajemen pelatihan, portal KISS juga dilengkapi dengan fitur-fitur pembelajaran secara mandiri, seperti video pembelajaran dan webinar yang bekerja sama dengan lembaga non-pemerintah untuk mengakomodir peningkatan kompetensi SDM dan fitur-fitur lainnya yang bertujuan untuk mengembangkan kompetensi SDM aparatur secara tepat, efektif dan efisien demi tercapainya pembangunan nasional, serta untuk mewujudkan peraturan pemerintah nomor 17 tahun 2020 tentang manajemen PNS terkait pemenuhan hak untuk memperoleh pengembangan kompetensi bagi ASN minimal 20 jam pelajaran bagi pegawai negeri sipil dan maksimal 24 jam pelajaran bagi pegawai pemerintah dengan perjanjian kerja.
Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia.
Sumber daya manusia merupakan suatu faktor utama yang penting dalam tiap proses pembangunan organisasi dan harus dikelola dengan baik agar efektivitas dan efisiensi organisasi semakin meningkat. Saat ini, sumber daya manusia tidak lagi dipandang hanya sebagai sumber daya, namun merupakan suatu modal atau aset dalam sebuah organisasi. Dengan kata lain, saat ini istilah human resource sudah beralih menjadi human capital. Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur resmi terbentuk pada tanggal 11 Maret 1991 dengan nomenklatur pendidikan dan latihan Provinsi Kalimantan Timur sesuai Peraturan Gubernur Kalimantan Timur Nomor 43 Tahun 2023 tentang kedudukan, susunan organisasi tugas fungsi, uraian tugas dan tata kerja perangkat daerah, menyelenggarakan fungsinya sebagai penyusunan kebijakan teknis, rencana dan program pengembangan sumber daya manusia, penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, penyelenggaraan sertifikasi kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, pemantauan, evaluasi, dan pelaporan atas pelaksanaan pengembangan sumber daya aparatur di provinsi, pelaksanaan administrasi Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi, dan pelaksanaan tugas lain yang diberikan oleh Gubernur Kalimantan Timur.
Dalam melaksanakan tugas dan fungsinya, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dipimpin oleh Ibu Dr. Anda Nina Dewi MAP membawahi 4 bidang. Bidang sertifikasi kompetensi pengelolaan kelembagaan, bidang pengembangan kompetensi teknis, bidang pengembangan kompetensi manajerial dan fungsional, bidang sekretariat, membawahi bagian umum kepegawaian dan perencanaan program keuangan. Dengan 21 pejabat fungsional widya iswara dan pejabat fungsional lainnya, serta pelaksana.
Untuk mendukung kegiatan transformasi mental dan fisik Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur menyediakan berbagai fasilitas pendukung, mulai dari lapangan upacara, studio multimedia, fitness center gimnasium,
lapangan basket dan futsal,
laboratorium komputer, perpustakaan, unit kesehatan, ruang laktasi, ruang makan.
Sedangkan untuk menyentuh transformasi spiritual, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia juga menyediakan fasilitas masjid sebagai sarana ibadah bagi pegawai BPSDM serta peserta diklat dan masyarakat umum.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur mempunyai tujuan dan sasaran. Tujuan dalam mewujudkan sumber daya manusia aparatur yang profesional dalam pelayanan publik dengan sasaran meningkatkan mutu pelayanan penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi, berkembangnya pengelolaan sertifikasi kompetensi, dan meningkatkan pemenuhan hak aparatur sipil negara dalam memperoleh pengembangan kompetensi.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui portal digital KIS Knowledge Integrated Solution System yang mengintegrasi pengelolaan model pelajaran, manajemen pengetahuan, serta pemenuhan kewajiban, pengembangan kompetensi bagi aparatur sipil negara. Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia.
Hai, jangan lupa di like dan follow seluruh akun media sosial BPSDM Prof Kaltim. Ditunggu ya.
menyelaraskan strategi, kebijakan, dan arah program pembangunan nasional Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur menghadirkan Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia. Melalui Corporate University akan tercipta organisasi yang memiliki nilai tambah dari aspek pengetahuan, pengalaman, dan keahlian serta kebanggaan yang menjadi pematik api engagement ke tingkat yang lebih besar bagi sumber daya manusia di dalamnya, sehingga diharapkan akan tercipta SDM aparatur yang unggul, tangguh, berkualitas, berdaya saing tinggi, dan mandiri untuk mendukung pembangunan nasional. Kalimantan Timur Corporate University akan menciptakan entitas pendidikan strategis melalui BPSDM Provinsi Kalimantan Timur sebagai motor penggerak yang bersinergi dengan seluruh perangkat daerah di pemerintah Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dalam rangka menciptakan learning organization dan knowledge management sebagai upaya mencapai visi misi yang pada implementasinya berlandaskan budaya pengetahuan, budaya pembelajaran, dan budaya kebijaksanaan. Sebagai langkah awal Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur meluncurkan sebuah portal digital yang mengintegrasikan pengelolaan model pembelajaran, manajemen pengetahuan, dan pelatihan yang terintegrasi dalam menunjang pencapaian kinerja organisasi yang dikenal sebagai KISS, Knowledge Integrated Solution System. Selain dilengkapi dengan berbagai aplikasi untuk mempermudah manajemen pelatihan, portal KISS juga dilengkapi dengan fitur-fitur pembelajaran secara mandiri, seperti video pembelajaran dan webinar yang bekerja sama dengan lembaga non-pemerintah untuk mengakomodir peningkatan kompetensi SDM dan fitur-fitur lainnya yang bertujuan untuk mengembangkan kompetensi SDM aparatur secara tepat, efektif dan efisien demi tercapainya pembangunan nasional, serta untuk mewujudkan peraturan pemerintah nomor 17 tahun 2020 tentang manajemen PNS terkait pemenuhan hak untuk memperoleh pengembangan kompetensi bagi ASN, minimal 20 jam pelajaran bagi pegawai negeri sipil dan maksimal 24 jam pelajaran bagi pegawai pemerintah dengan perjanjian kerja.
Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia.
Sumber daya manusia merupakan suatu faktor utama yang penting dalam tiap proses pembangunan organisasi dan harus dikelola dengan baik agar efektivitas dan efisiensi organisasi semakin meningkat. Saat ini, sumber daya manusia tidak lagi dipandang hanya sebagai sumber daya, namun merupakan suatu modal atau aset dalam sebuah organisasi. Dengan kata lain, saat ini istilah human resource sudah beralih menjadi human capital. Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur resmi terbentuk pada tanggal 11 Maret 1991 dengan nomenklatur pendidikan dan latihan Provinsi Kalimantan Timur sesuai Peraturan Gubernur Kalimantan Timur nomor 43 tahun 2023 tentang kedudukan, susunan organisasi tugas fungsi, uraian tugas dan tata kerja perangkat daerah, menyelenggarakan fungsinya sebagai penyusunan kebijakan teknis, rencana dan program pengembangan sumber daya manusia, penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, penyelenggaraan sertifikasi kompetensi di lingkungan pemerintah provinsi, pemantauan, evaluasi, dan pelaporan atas pelaksanaan pengembangan sumber daya aparatur di provinsi, pelaksanaan administrasi Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi, dan pelaksanaan tugas lain yang diberikan oleh Gubernur Kalimantan Timur.
Dalam melaksanakan tugas dan fungsinya, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dipimpin oleh Ibu Dr. Anda Nina Dewi MAP membawahi 4 bidang. Bidang sertifikasi kompetensi pengelolaan kelembagaan, bidang pengembangan kompetensi teknis, bidang pengembangan kompetensi manajerial dan fungsional, bidang sekretariat, membawahi bagian umum kepegawaian dan perencanaan program keuangan. Dengan 21 pejabat fungsional widya iswara dan pejabat fungsional lainnya, serta pelaksana.
Untuk mendukung kegiatan transformasi mental dan fisik, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur menyediakan berbagai fasilitas pendukung, mulai dari lapangan upacara, studio multimedia, fitness center gymnasium,
lapangan basket dan futsal,
laboratorium komputer, perpustakaan, unit kesehatan, ruang laktasi, ruang makan.
Sedangkan untuk menyentuh transformasi spiritual, Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia juga menyediakan fasilitas masjid sebagai sarana ibadah bagi pegawai BPSDM serta peserta diklat dan masyarakat umum.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur mempunyai tujuan dan sasaran. Tujuan dalam mewujudkan sumber daya manusia aparatur yang profesional dalam pelayanan publik dengan sasaran meningkatkan mutu pelayanan penyelenggaraan pengembangan kompetensi, berkembangnya pengelolaan sertifikasi kompetensi, dan meningkatkan pemenuhan hak aparatur sipil negara dalam memperoleh pengembangan kompetensi.
Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui portal digital KIS Knowledge Integrated Solution System yang mengintegrasi pengelolaan model pelajaran, manajemen pengetahuan, serta pemenuhan kewajiban, pengembangan kompetensi bagi aparatur sipil negara. Kalimantan Timur Corporate University, ASN tangguh untuk Indonesia.
Sekarang sudah lumayan terdengar, Ibu?
Ya. Sudah Bu Badi.
Sudah kedengaran ya, Bu ya? Baik. Kita mulai aja dengan peserta yang ada ya, Bu ya?
Iya, ya sudah.
Oke. Baik, teman-teman Sobat ASN, kita akan segera mulai sharing session kita. Yang terhormat Kepala BPSDM Prof. Kaltim beserta jajaran, our esteemed speaker, Profesor Yusuke Jingnai from IUJ, yang saya hormati rekan-rekan media suara, segenap pejabat administrator, pejabat pengawas, pejabat fungsional lainnya. Yang saya banggakan, seluruh peserta sharing session pada hari ini. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita.
Waalaikumsalam.
Saya punya pantun pemuka untuk teman-teman sekalian. Bisa kasih cakep ya teman-teman ya.
Cakep ya.
Jika perahu sudah melaju,
Cakep.
mari kita banyak berdoa.
Cakep.
Jika ingin negara kita maju, pendidikan harus utama.
Amin.
Amin.
Ini cakep.
Jadi, terkait dengan materi kita hari ini ya. Puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, di mana pada hari ini kita bisa berkumpul bersama untuk mengikuti sharing session episode 65 dengan topik Learning from Japan, How Indonesia Can Improve Its Education System dalam kondisi sehat walafiat. Saya Fadi Zulfa akan menjadi moderator selama 2 jam ke depan. Sebelum kita mulai, perlu saya ingatkan kepada teman-teman, ada beberapa hal yang perlu saya sampaikan. Untuk menjaga kelancaran acara, mohon agar semua peserta menjaga mikrofon dalam kondisi mute selama presentasi. Kemudian link daftar hadir akan dikirim ke kolom chat di Zoom setelah narasumber selesai memberikan materi. Materi dan sertifikat akan dikirimkan ke email peserta sewaktu registrasi. Dan bagi ASN Pemprov Kaltim akan langsung terkoneksi dalam aplikasi My Baik, sebagai pembuka, marilah sama-sama kita dengarkan sambutan dari Kepala Badan Pengembangan Sumber Daya Manusia Provinsi Kalimantan Timur. Kepada yang terhormat, Ibu Dr. Anda Dewi MAP, disilakan.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Badi. Suara saya cukup terdengar di sana ya?
Terdengar jelas, Ibu.
Oke, baik. Karena Bu Badi tadi Pak membaca pantun, saya jawab pantunnya Bu Badi. Menebang bambu di kebun jati.
Cakep.
Bawa pulang sebongkah rebung.
Cakep.
Bapak Ibu hadirin yang saya hormati, terima kasih yang sudah bergabung. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Puji syukur selalu kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan Yang Maha Esa. Karena atas limpahan rahmat dan berkahnya, maka kita hari ini masih diberikan nasihat dan dapat kembali mengikuti sharing session yang sudah memasuki episode ke-65. Yang mana pada hari ini akan mengangkat tema Learning from Japan, How Indonesia Can Improve Its Education System, atau belajar dari Jepang, bagaimana Indonesia dapat meningkatkan sistem pendidikannya. Yang mana pada hari ini narasumber yang akan dihadirkan adalah Bapak Yusuke Jinai, Asosiasi Profesor di Universitas Internasional Jepang, dan moderator yang akan memandu kegiatan ini sampai nanti dengan berakhirnya kegiatan Ibu Badi Julpa Nihayati SPC. MAP, beliau adalah WD Suara BPSDM Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dan juga sebagai koordinator kegiatan sharing session ini. Bapak Ibu hadirin peserta sharing session yang saya hormati, pendidikan adalah hal penting bagi setiap negara untuk dapat berkembang pesat. Negara yang hebat akan menempatkan pendidikan sebagai prioritas utamanya. Karena itu dengan adanya pendidikan, kemiskinan di suatu negara bisa tergantikan menjadi kesejahteraan. Amin. Sistem pendidikan yang baik secara otomatis akan menghasilkan tunas-tunas bangsa yang baik di masa depan. Negara kita, Indonesia, dengan jumlah penduduk terbesar keempat di dunia, secara signifikan dalam meningkatkan sistem pendidikan dalam beberapa dekade terakhir ini ada mengalami kemajuan, namun negara kita masih tertinggal dari banyak negara maju
disconnect Ibu Nina. Sebenarnya ada sedikit trouble ya ini ya, tim ya. Oh,
Tidak
oke,
terdengar?
sudah tersambung. Ya,
Sudah
terdengar
terdengar?
lagi.
Baik. Bapak Ibu hadirin yang saya banggakan, melihat sistem pendidikan negara Jepang sangat menekankan pada pengembangan profesional berkelanjutan secara rutin, yang profesi seorang pendidik terus berpartisipasi dalam program pelatihan untuk memperbarui keterampilan dan pengetahuan. Sistem pendidikan Jepang dikenal dengan pendekatannya yang seimbang, menggabungkan standar akademik yang ketat dengan fokus yang kuat pada pendidikan holistik. Komitmen terhadap kualitas seorang pengajar berperan penting dalam tingginya hasil pendidikan di Jepang dan merupakan sebuah model yang dapat memberikan banyak manfaat bagi Indonesia. Bapak Ibu hadirin yang saya banggakan, pendidikan adalah usaha sistematis dengan penuh kasih untuk membangun peradaban bangsa. Di balik sukses ekonomi dan teknologi yang ditunjukkan negara-negara maju, semua itu disemangati nilai-nilai kemanusiaan agar kehidupan bisa dijalani lebih mudah, lebih produktif, dan lebih bermakna. Keberhasilan negara Jepang dalam membangun negaranya menjadi negara yang maju dalam berbagai bidang kehidupan, selain didukung nilai-nilai khas budayanya, juga didukung oleh sumber daya manusia yang mempunyai karakter unggul yang diperoleh dari hasil pendidikan karakter baik di lembaga formal maupun non formal. Bapak Ibu hadirin peserta sharing session yang saya banggakan, sharing session ini bertujuan untuk menganalisis kekuatan utama sistem pendidikan di negara Jepang, untuk mengidentifikasi strategi-strategi yang dapat ditindaklanjuti, yang dapat diadopsi oleh Indonesia dari sistem pendidikan di negara Jepang, dan untuk mendorong dialog mengenai peningkatan hasil pendidikan di negara kita, Indonesia. Kami juga mengucapkan terima kasih atas kesediaan Bapak Ibu, khususnya narasumber, juga moderator, maupun seluruh peserta yang mengikuti kegiatan sharing session ini dalam hal terus mengembangkan ASN Corporate University, khususnya di Kalimantan Timur. Demikian juga kepada seluruh peserta yang berada di luar wilayah Kalimantan Timur, sekali lagi kami atas nama pemerintah Provinsi Kalimantan Timur melalui BPSDM Provinsi Kalimantan Timur mengucapkan terima kasih atas kesetiaan Bapak Ibu sekalian terus bergabung mengikuti kegiatan-kegiatan yang kami laksanakan baik melalui sharing session pada hari ini. Sekali lagi terima kasih, dan mari kita simak paparan dari narasumber kita yang sangat luar biasa, dan nanti akan dipandu oleh moderator kita Ibu Badi. Lebih kurangnya saya mohon maaf. Terima kasih. Saya Ari. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bu Nina atas sambutannya dan juga pantun-pantunnya. Berkat dukungan beliau, sharing session sudah mencapai episode yang ke-65 pada hari ini. Para hadirin yang berbahagia, hari ini kita punya tamu istimewa dari Jepang ya, Bapak Ibu ya. Dan kita baru pertama ini kita mengadakan sharing session di mana narasumbernya live Zoom-nya dari Jepang. Mari kita sambut bersama pembicara kita, Yusuke Jinai PhD. Ohayo gozaimasu, Profesor Yusuke Jinai.
Thank you. Selamat pagi. Good
Selamat
morning.
pagi.
Selamat pagi.
Terima kasih. Thank you.
Sama-sama.
Are you wearing batik now?
Today I'm wearing batik.
Oh,
My favorite
nice.
batik,
Yeah.
because I have been to Indonesia 3 times already on
Oh,
business.
that's
Went to
good.
Jakarta, Bandung, and Yogyakarta also. And this is my favorite. Thank you.
Okay, maybe one day you can visit
Yes, next time
IKN
I'm
or East
looking forward to the
Kalimantan.
next opportunity.
We're
So
looking
first
forward
of
to your visit here.
Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to thank Dora Nina Dewi. Thank you very much for inviting and welcoming me
Welcome. Thank
for
you.
this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Batik Kalimantan Timur yang belum ada beliaunya kayaknya.
Yeah. Maybe one day you can visit here and we can
Yes.
give you East Kalimantan's batik.
Yes, thank you
We
very
also
much.
have beautiful batik like what I
Thank
wear.
you. And I also would like to thank Badi for organizing this sharing session wonderfully and very smoothly. And today I'm very happy to be, and I'm very honored to be a speaker to share my experience and profession about Japan's education system. Okay.
Yes. We're excited to have your insight presentations, Professor.
Okay,
So the
thank you
floor
very
is
much.
yours for 60 minutes.
Okay, so thank you very much. And probably now all audience can see my slide. I'm going to talk about the issue on learning from Japan, how Indonesia can improve its education system. Okay, so I'm going to talk around 60 minutes and followed by discussion and questions with the audience. Okay. So let me introduce myself very briefly, very much briefly. Okay. So my academic and personal background, just to share with you. So I do have a PhD degree in economics at the University of Rochester in the United States. And my doctoral dissertation focused also on economics of education. So I have been studying and researching on education from an economic viewpoint for many years. I also have academic publication on education systems. And also at the International University of Japan, IUJ, I also teach not only statistics as data analysis, but also Japan's education system as my professional area. So today, I'm going to talk about my professional research as well as the brief history and a brief introduction about how Japanese education has been achieving. Okay, for some lessons for Indonesian future. So the key message from today's seminar first, because our time is limited and everybody is not so patient, so I'd like to conclude my session first. So first important message is education is very important, of course, for each individual, but not only for each individual, but also for as a country as a whole. Very important topic. We are concerned about how to educate our future kids. Okay. And probably the second important factor here today is, at the same time, there is no single best education system around the world. Japan, I'm going to talk about Japan system, is considered to be one of the best. At the same time, there are many other systems in other countries which are doing great also. Because each country is trying to propose and find out their best based on their context, based on their culture and history and so on. So there is no single best, but there are many good ones around the world. Today, I'm going to introduce how Japan is educating our children. The third important message today is, at the same time, everybody understand there is no quick, easy solution to improve the education level. It takes time, of course, right? For your college study, you spend 4 years. For your graduate study, you spend 2 years. It takes time for everyone to study and improve our knowledge and skills. Same for education system as a country-wide, region-wide. We can implement new policy, but it takes time to achieve our return. At the same time, we do understand investment is very much important for our future. So we can invest today, but our return is sometime later. There is a huge gap, time lag, in particular for education. Okay, those are the key messages. And with this in mind, I'm going to share my ideas as well as my perspectives. So let's start with a global viewpoint. Of course, we are going to pay particular attention to Japan's system later on. But first of all, let's think big from the global perspective. So as you know, he was the Prime Minister of the UK. And when he became the political leader in the United Kingdom in the 1990s, as you may remember, or as you may know, so he was asked, what are the priorities of the United Kingdom? And he said, there are 3 priorities for the UK. 1, education. Second, he said, education. And the third, education, he said, which means all the priorities are on education, education, education. And then, as you know, the British economy went up significantly, partly thanks to his leadership on investing on education a lot. It doesn't mean only the budget-wise, but attention to how to publicly educate their future children. That was what he did when he was as a Prime Minister of the UK. And similar idea, 10 years, 15 years later, he has become on the seat of the United States president. And he also emphasized education. If you remember, his agenda was as follows. If you remember, he proposed STEM education as a keyword for education agenda. S stands for science, T stands for technology, E stands for engineering, and M stands for mathematics. So he was trying to make America greater than before, particularly paying attention to science, technology, and engineering, and mathematical education. And this has become a huge investment for Americans in education policy. So that was the idea he introduced in the US in 2000. Okay? So as such, many global leaders are paying particular attention to the education policies because they do know their country's future depends on education. This is, of course, supported by academic research. For example, this shows a clear relationship between education and economic growth. On your right-hand side, top side, you can see Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, China. They are enjoying higher economic growth and, of course, higher achievement in education. Somewhere in the middle, you can see Japan is somewhere in the middle because nowadays Japan's economic growth is not so fast, unfortunately. And Indonesia is in the middle, as you may see, IDN in the middle, which means the somewhere in the middle about the educational achievement and also for the economic growth. On your left-hand side, unfortunately, you can see low-performing countries such as Philippines or Peru. Unfortunately, their education level is very low. At the same time, their economic growth is very slow. So as such, from the country perspective, education is very important for our future, of course. That's why my key message from number one is education is, of course, important for each person and each children. However, not only each individual, but also from a country-wise viewpoint, it is very important. Next. Okay. At the same time, as I mentioned, there is no single best education system. Even for Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, they are considered to be very well educated countries. They are also struggling. They are also having many troubles. That's why we are always trying to update our education system. For example, this is a very popular TED Talk by Sir Ken Robinson titled, "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" And as you may have watched before, because this is the most watched TED Talk ever. So everybody around the world has ever watched this video saying that traditional schools are killing creativity. So he's quite against the current system and proposing new idea how to educate our newborn kids from creativity viewpoint for the new economy. Also, you may know this person, Khan. He is a person who established a new online education platform, Khan Academy, which is now used widely, globally, and worldwide. And he is trying to introduce and encourage, let's use video to reinvent education. And this is a great idea around the world in order to have great teachers online for free of charge. So as such, many people are trying to update and improve the current education system because we shouldn't stop here. There is no single best one. We are always finding trouble and finding overcome solutions for the future. So as you now see, all the people are concerned about future education and many countries are competing with each other to find a better education system. Not only developing countries, but also even for developed countries such as UK, US, Japan, we are trying to fix our problem we are currently facing. And of course, different countries are trying to implement different education systems. And in order to compare countries, in order to judge which education system looks better or greater, we need some index. One popular index is, as you may know, PISA test score. PISA stands for Program for International Student Achievement. And this exam is widely introduced where 15-year-old students are going to take in mathematics, science, and reading. And same material, same exam. That's why the comparison becomes much, much easier. Which country's students are performing great, which country's students are not so. So we are always concerned about this kind of ranking to see who are on the top, whether your country is improving, and so on. So this exam is conducted every 3 years. So let's see the latest one. Latest one is from 2022. Okay, so this score ranking showed mathematics, reading, as well as science. So let's see where Japan is, because we are going to talk about Japan today. As you can see, mathematics on the top, you can find Singapore. No surprise, everybody knows Singapore is a highly educated country. Followed by Macau in China, Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, and here we come Japan. Okay? Similar ranking for reading. Singapore is again on the top, followed by Ireland and Japan here. Science, again similar. Singapore is still on the top, great idea. And at the same time, Japan comes on the second. So as you can see, Japan is one of the greatest countries in performing PISA test score, which indicates Japan's education system is one of the great ones. At the same time, please note that the similarity across mathematics, reading, and science. Which countries are likely to be on the top? Last time, 2022, Singapore was always on the top. Great. At the same time, look, Macau, China, Taiwan, Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, those countries are also likely to be in the top group. And as you can see, they are very small countries, right? Singapore is very small. Macau, Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, very small. Usually they are called city-states. They only have urban areas. They are like cities. They don't have rural areas as we have in Japan or Indonesia, right? And usually there is a huge education gap between urban areas and rural areas. Rural areas don't have enough human resources, materials, textbook. There are lots of problems, particularly in rural areas. Still, Japan has many rural areas, but one of on the top countries. So you can see that this may be a very informative Indonesia. Indonesia is much, much larger country than Japan. Lots of rural areas also. So maybe Singapore system or Macau system, Taiwan system may not be so informative because they are very small countries, city-states, where there is no rural areas. But Japan is different. So I wish today's lesson from Japan may be influential and informative for Indonesia to develop your policies in the future. Okay? This is an overall ranking, and especially based on each subject. Move on. Next is about the total ranking among those three subjects. One more time, let me explain here. Once again, of course, basically the same ranking where Singapore, Macau, Chinese Taipei there, and Japan on the fourth. Here we have many more countries, so let's talk about Indonesia, whether Indonesia is or other neighboring country is. The short answer, Indonesia is here, 69th. Of course, not high yet, but Indonesia's performance is improving over years. How about other neighboring countries, for example, Southeast Asian countries, ASEAN countries? You may find here, Vietnam is on the top among those ASEAN countries. Vietnam, 34th. Okay, you can find it. Or Brunei, you can find as 42nd. You can find Malaysia. Malaysia 47th here. Okay. And also you can find, okay, so the Indonesia here, and you can also find Philippines here, 77th, and you can also have Cambodia here. So these are the performance among Indonesia and neighboring countries. They are like a mid to low performance countries at this moment, but of course, they are improving sharply. In particular,
Recording in progress.
In particular, Vietnam has increased sharply over years because they care a lot about education for their future. And of course, Indonesia is growing and educating more, so they are expected to improve their ranking for the future. So this is an idea about how all the countries are competing with each other and how to see which countries are doing great and which countries are improving. So now let's pay more attention to Japan's system, today's focus. So short history here, Japan's education. So in late 19th century to early 20th century, when Japan started to modernize. So this is starting from, this 1987, 1860, sorry about that. Okay, in 1868, this is Meiji Distribution, when Japan modernized our country, like a turning point. So this is a starting point to introduce Japanese modern education system after Meiji Restoration in 1868. And since then, Japan has been growing industrially, economically. At the same time, we had a World War II, and we lost in 1945. Then we had another new drastic change where we started to reform education system by introducing more Western style, American style education systems. And now, currently, since late 20th century, Japan government is always trying to find updates and improvement in order to better educate children. In particular, in the late 20th century, we introduced Yutori education reform, so-called. This means more relaxed education because in the past, children were under strong pressure to study hard for exams, entrance to the university, and so on. So the government tried to relax this kind of pressure. At the same time, this Yutori education is still controversial. Many people are against it. So the government finally decided to stop this policy in the end. So as such, Japan is relatively doing a great job in education, but still the government is wondering how to improve their systems. Okay. Move on to the next page.
Pardon, Professor?
Yep.
Is there any problem?
Do you see the next slide?
Your voice is unclear.
Clear? So, buddy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So weak, so weak.
So weak, so low?
Yes.
So I see. So it's better to more voice up.
No better, no better.
Now better. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So now let's move on to the current system of Japan. So maybe more or less similar to other countries, we have compulsory education for a total of 9 years, 6-year elementary, primary school, and followed by 3-year lower secondary middle school. Of course, you can go to high school as upper secondary school, but this is not compulsory anymore. Higher education, college, and graduate schools are of course not compulsory anymore. So this is an overall idea about how we organize. Okay? I believe very similar to the Indonesian system also. So of course there are much more complicated, but the key idea is 6-year primary and 3-year lower secondary. Those are the compulsory education. In addition, there are lots of details, such as vocational schools, more technical schools, and so on. Okay. Once again, this is a little bit too detailed, so I'm not going to in detail, but of course, I'm very happy to share the slides after the lecture. Okay. So let's talk about how students and children study at school. Of course, children study very hard for potentially long hours at school. At the same time, seemingly unique point for Japan's education is that they learn discipline, patience, responsibility, and social manners at schools. So let's see their daily life. So first of all, Japanese children on the way to school in the morning. As you can see from this photo, every day, elder children are responsible in bringing younger kids to school together. So in many schools at Japan, from public schools viewpoint, they don't provide bus services. Partly because Japan is a safe country. For example, in the US, all the kids are driven by school buses because there are many crimes and non-safety issues, particularly in other countries. Japan usually a much more safer country where students usually walk to their schools every morning. And in particular, they make a group where elder people will be in charge for smaller kids to bring to the school every day. Another photo here you can see. Children keep a safety by walking in a single line. Here also they are trying to learn such as social manner, not to be noisy boys and girls, but follow the elder people's guidance to go to the school every day on time with safe. This is quite typical, like the scene every morning you can see around Japan. And as you can see here, yellow caps and similar bags, these are very special bags particularly for elementary school kids. Usually public schools for elementary, they don't have uniforms. We are likely to have uniform from middle schools on. But for the elementary school little kids, those yellow caps are kind of uniform. And the special bags are also a traditional symbol of school children to share the same issues, same manner, and so on. Those bags are called randoseru. So when you enter the elementary schools, kids are likely to given one randoseru, usually black one for boys and red one for girls, as a present usually from parents or grandparents, as a symbol that you are going to start schools. On the way to school, of course, students walk by themselves. At the same time, local communities are also involved, in particular when crossing a road, dangerous area where accident can happen so many times. Even if traffic lights are there, sometimes students are very slow in walking, of course. Therefore, those parents or those retired overall local community is trying to support children to get to school on time as safely. This is another unique feature which you can observe around Japan. Local communities are significantly involved. Now students come to schools. At school, teachers are called sensei with respect. As you may know, sensei has a special meaning. It doesn't only mean teachers. So technically speaking, sensei is a translation for teachers. But sensei implies someone who are born earlier than you. So we have a kind of social manner to respect elders. Sensei meaning that master of life. And particularly at the elementary school, sensei, teachers are going to teach all the subjects, not only for mathematics and science, but also moral and social manners and so on. So primary school children are significantly influenced by those sensei teachers. By contrast, when you start middle schools, lower secondary school, we have each teacher for each subject, such as math teacher, English teacher, based on the subject. So very different between elementary school and middle school. They also take like physical classes as a required classes. And sensei is also going to teach those running, jogging, and swimming also. So physical training, physical education is a kind of traditional custom in Japan. So wherever the elementary school you go, we have this kind of physical classes. And in particular, if you go to northern area, snowy area, like IUJ in Niigata area, we have lots of snow. If so, we have very special physical training, like such as skiing and snowboarding. So depending on the area, depending on the culture for each region, we are going to have a little bit different ones. But physical education is quite important for elementary schools. Another unique feature maybe is a school lunch. Many public schools provide school lunch. At the same time, children are in charge of serving lunch. Of course, the dishes are prepared by the special chefs at the school. However, the children's responsibility is, as you can see from the left-hand side photo, they serve dishes for their classmates within a group. So this week, maybe group A is in charge. Next week, another group is in charge. And those students are making a line again, wait for the dishes. I also experienced when I was a little kid at elementary school. Sometimes I was in charge as a group to serve lunch to my friends first, or sometimes I was making a line. This is another quite unique practice in Japan, serving lunch by themselves. Maybe another unique feature is at class or after class every day, children clean their classroom by themselves. This doesn't happen in many other countries, such as Western countries, US or UK. I also had a chance to join as an elementary school kid in the UK. And I was so surprised when I was 10 years old there, because we children didn't clean our classrooms. But schools were hiring professional service, paying for the services for professional cleaning, which does make sense for many countries, and they do have their viewpoint also. But as you can see, Japanese children learn how to keep cleanliness, how to keep not only your belongings, but also the common things, right? Classroom is not your own belongings, but it's a common place. But we do have an idea that we have to keep the cleanliness also for the public places. So if you have been to Japan in the past, you found Japan is relatively a clean country. You don't find so many dirty issues around the city, maybe because children are well educated from the cleanliness viewpoint also. Okay, move on. So another issue after school. So after school, you clean your classroom by yourself, and some guys go back to their home directly. Some guys go to the park and enjoy football and whatever. But sometimes their parents are also working until evening or until night. And what do? Usually, local governments provide community-based care classes, like additional classes, so-called gakudo hoik, to those children who have to wait for their parents coming back to their home at late time. So they do have some like more academic programs or physical programs, or of course, like entertaining program also. So there is such a place in local community where students can stay. They will never feel alone. They will never join some criminal activities. We are trying to have community to support all the children's activities, even after school. So as such, parents and local community are significantly involved with school activities. In particular, we call it PTA, Parent-Teacher Association. It's a very strong and very active voluntary group organized by parents, teachers, and local community to support a wide variety of children activities. Some are academic activities, some are non-academic activities, but this shows that we all together are very much concerned about how to educate children efficiently and effectively. So from a children's viewpoint, in some Japanese schools that you found, not only develop children's academic ability. Of course, academic ability is very important, and thanks to the education system, Japanese kids are doing great in PISA test score, for example. At the same time, as we have seen so far, children are encouraged to foster their social, emotional, and physical development through a wide variety of activities, sometimes in class, sometimes after class, supported by the local communities also. Another important thing, as we discussed, is local communities also take important roles to care about children outside of schools, not only at school, not only by teachers, but also many people in the local community, and they care a lot about that. One more important, particularly true This practice is particularly true for elementary school kids, where the students are aged between 6 and 12.
Pardon,
So small.
Girai Sensei,
Yes.
your voice is weak again.
Oh, weak again. Sorry about that. What happened? I will try. Okay.
Okay.
Now, okay. Sorry. Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So this is particularly true for elementary schools and similar spirits, such as educating children's discipline, patience, and responsibility, continue to middle schools, where students are going to take PISA test score at the age of 15. So as you can see, kids are grown up in such a way, particularly from the Japanese education system viewpoint. So those are the children's activities, day by day, from morning on the way to school, at school, as well as after school. Now, let's pay particular attention to the teachers' side, because teachers are a very important factor for all the education, for all the countries. So first of all, let's see Japanese teachers in a global comparison. So unfortunately, while children are doing great, Japanese teachers have some difficulties in education. So let's see where Japan is. So this is a global comparison across many countries regarding, first of all, PISA test score. So dark ones are higher test scores. And on your axis, you have average working hours. How many hours teachers are working. On your left-hand side, y-axis, this is teacher salary. So Japan is here, which means they are not always earning high, right? Their salary is in the middle. At the same time, they are working long hours, while PISA test score is very good. Okay, so this is Japan. PISA test score is good. However, teacher's salary is somewhere in the middle, and they are working for long hours. Let's compare with similar performing countries, such as South Korea is here. South Korea and Japan both are great in PISA test scores, right? And South Korea also, same as Japan in terms of salary. So they are not high income persons among teachers. However, look, South Korea is working much less, right? Same performance, same salary, but South Korean teachers are working less for the almost similar outcome, which means they are more efficient, they are more effective. Shorter working hours, but same performance. Or look at Finland. Finland is another great country in terms of PISA, like dark color, one of the top countries. And their salaries, of course, not so high, somewhere in the middle. But they work much less than even compared to South Korea, which means they are educating kids very well within a short time framework, while South Korea spends more, and Japanese teachers spending lots more time. Probably they need to be more efficient and effective. So that's the key idea about the overall teacher status. And as you can see, interestingly, United States, whose performance is not so great in PISA test score, however, their salary is very high. Or Netherlands is great in terms of great salary for public school teachers with fewer working hours, and PISA performance is also somewhere in the top. So as such, all the countries have a different perspective from the teacher's viewpoint. In particular, teacher salary is important, and also working hours is very important because teachers are likely to spend lots of time together with children. Japan is here, which has huge potential improvement in the future. Move on. So, teachers in Japan. Teachers are, of course, quite important in educating children for many countries. In Japan also, of course. And how to become a teacher in Japan? First of all, what you are requested to do is initial teacher education. Usually, those people who want to become a teacher in the future, they are likely to take this initial teacher education at college when they are college students, like 18 years, 19 years, 20 years old. In myself, I didn't take any such training, but some of my classmates at college, they were taking those initial teacher education. Even if they don't become a teacher in the future, still there is a chance, that they want to be a teacher in the future with licensure. So many college students take this initial education as a teacher when they are college students. And employment, if you are serious about becoming a public school teacher, boards of education are going to be the key organizer. They are going to interview you through the paper exam and interview exam. And then if you pass, you are going to be hired. And of course, even after you get a job as a teacher, you are requested to take a training program and further development in order to become the higher rank positions. In the end, many teachers plan to become school principals in the end. If so, they are requested to take mid-career training program for further development. Those are the key ideas how we recruit teachers and how they develop their skills over years. Okay, move on to the next page. So here is a governance about education. Of course, Ministry of Education is in charge of the national-wide policy, which covers the national government in this figure on the bottom, the green one, national government, which means Ministry of Education, is in charge of, for example, overall curricula or textbook. So Ministry of Education is going to check which textbook can be used at schools and so on. They are in charge about this kind of national policy. And in the middle, you can see Prefectural Board of Education. Probably from the practical viewpoint, this prefectural governance is a key because they are going to recruit teachers and allocate teachers. For example, now I'm living in Niigata Prefecture, where IUJ is located. So if you want to be a teacher in Niigata, then you are going to have an exam and interview by this Niigata Prefecture Board of Education. And if you pass the exam, you will become a teacher. And then again, which school to work for? You cannot choose by yourself. This Prefecture Board of Education, they are going to assign Jinnai Sensei, you go to this school. Another teacher, you go to this school. They are also in charge of allocating teachers. So this is done by prefecture level. That's why this blue Prefecture Board of Education is a key governance from a Japanese education viewpoint. Municipal level, this is just take action. You are assigned to, for example, Minami Onuma City, and we do have daily basis practices. However, all the guidelines are given by the prefecture level. While the Ministry of Education, the green one, national government, is in charge of overall idea, overall quality, like textbook checks are done by the national level. These are the three key organizers in Japan for the education policy. Teacher certificates. Of course, teachers need a license. As I told you, many students, when they are college, they take initial training program and also they are trying to get the licensure. So there are three types of licensure, the normal one, special one, extraordinary one. And many people are okay with the normal ones, okay? Normal certificates need renewals in 10 years. That's why every 10 years at least, you have to showcase your improvement and the new knowledge and skills. And the teacher salary is a very important factor as we discussed. While teacher salary in Japan remains somewhere in the middle compared to the South Korea or Finland and so on, teacher salary basically depends on two factors. One is a ranking or the position, and the other is experience. Experience is easy to understand because how many years you work for the public sector. So if you are elder, you are likely to earn more. Younger earn less. Rank and position depends. So for example, normal licensure, as you can see, one license is particularly for equivalent to master's degree or college degree, or even for junior college degree. So this degree matters. If you have a graduate degree, when you become a teacher, your earning is a little bit higher than their counterparts with only college degrees. So as such, ranking matters, degree matters, and position matters. Once again, as I told you, if you become the teacher and higher position and school principal in the end, of course, they are likely to earn more. So this is the teacher certificate and salary scheme in Japanese education. For the skill development for teachers, as we discussed, so all the teachers are requested to renew their license every 10 years. So suppose you become a teacher at the age of 22 or 25, so every 10 years you have to renew. Maybe at the age 35 for the first time, age 45, 55 times, 50 years, 5 years, and so on. So every time you have to showcase your improvement. And if you want to become the higher position, such as school principals, you are also requested to take some special training program to be well prepared for the education leaders. All right, so these are the current system in Japan. Some are unique, but more or less maybe similar to other countries. Therefore, here, let's see from historical viewpoint why Japan education is now good. Not only because the current system is great, but partly because, or mainly because, in the past, we developed nice educational system to educate the children more efficiently and effectively. So brief history about Japan's education. So this is a nice data over more than 100 years, okay, around 200 years already. So we pick United States, United Kingdom, and Japan, and for your reference, Indonesia also. So this is a very long-term data from 1820, around 1820 for other countries, those three countries, for Indonesia here also. So this is primary school age. How much people are at primary schools? So as you can see, at the primary level, all the country want to achieve 100%, which means all the kids are educated at least until age 12 or something for the primary education. So as you can see, United States achieve 100% before 1900. Same for United Kingdom. Around 1900, they achieve almost 100%. Japan is very similar around here, around 1900. So comparable to the UK. Of course, US a little bit more advanced in education in the 19th century. However, United Kingdom and Japan was probably on the second ranked educated countries in the late 19th century already. As you can see, Indonesia and other countries are growing so fast, particularly after 1950s, and somewhere here, Indonesia also achieved almost 100%. Kids are at primary education level. Of course, some ups and downs exist. However, this overall picture shows that in the late 19th century, United States was one of the most educated countries, while Japan and UK was the second best in order to educate kids at least at the primary level. So this is an achievement Japan has already obtained more than 100 years ago. That's partly the reason why Japan is still great nowadays. Not because of the current system, but in the past, we have such an asset. So we may want to see what was happening in the past in order to quickly improve the education level from the nationwide in Japan for such a large country, different from Singapore or Hong Kong. Let's see. So as you can see, this is Japan's figure, which sharply increased toward 1900, right? From 1820 to 1900, Japanese education sharply improved, inviting almost all children at least at primary education level. Since then, we are doing the same. Of course, trying to improve more, but one goal was achieved by 1900. And during this time period, sharp increase. So what was happening at that time in Japan from historical viewpoint? As we discussed, Meiji Restoration is one of the modernization points in Japanese history. which took place in 1868. Before 1868, it was Edo period. And Edo period ended in 1868 when the Meiji government started to modernize Japan. So during this time period, as you can see, education has sharply increased. So we want to dig into the history during Edo period and Meiji period, what was happening there. Okay, so the short history from Japan's education. First of all, Edo period. Edo period was a long period from 1603 up to 1868 when Meiji Restoration started. So during this time period, more than 260 years long, Tokugawa family governed Japan for 15th generation, long time period. At that time, as you can see, this kind of shogunate and samurai were there. Very old time in Japan. And at the end of Edo period, when Meiji Restoration started, Boshin War happened. This is basically the fight between the old government governed by Tokugawa family and the new government, which becomes a Meiji government in the future. So this was a turning point when Japan started to modernize. And in 1868, Meiji Restoration. This is the end of the shogunate and samurai period. And this is the starting point of the centralized government under Emperor Meiji. Okay? And education system also changed significantly. As I told in my very first slide, after the Meiji Restoration, this was a Japanese modern style of education was introduced. For example, national system of public education was established. 1871, Ministry of Education was established. Following year, 1872, compulsory education law was implemented. And industrialization, economic growth after several decades after Meiji Restoration. These are what was happening at that time when education was also improving sharply. So let's see how people were educated at that time. First of all, during the Edo period until the end of Edo, Japan had social classes, four social classes, ranks. The top was warriors, samurai is on the top, followed by farmers, artisans, and merchants. And samurai was basically the governor of the local government. So samurai worked for local governments called Han, which were independent with each other and had a different education system. As I just told, Meiji Restoration was a period when Japan started to centralize the education system. Before Meiji, each Han was quite independent and different education system was implemented. This is a brief map of Japan during the Edo period. As you can see, more than 300 Hans were there. Now we have only around 50 prefectures. So this implies during the Edo period, the area was more diversified and each Han was independent with each other, trying to educate their children in their own way. After the Meiji Restoration, these Hans are merged into only 50, and their education systems are quite centralized nowadays. So even if you are in city area or rural area, northern area, south area, basically nowadays, currently, children use the same textbook and teachers are using the same materials to teach kids. So at that time, Samurai's son studied at the official Han school. Han school was there. There were around 300 Han schools around the nation, and they studied at this kind of Han school. What they studied? They studied reading, writing in Japanese language, of course. At the same time, new foreign language was imported. Firstly, Dutch was a popular language, followed by English sometime later. And also they studied swordmanship, more like a physical training, which also continues in the current primary education in Japan. And here, this photo also shows elder children were in charge of teaching and younger children. We usually didn't have specific teachers, but older kids, those are seniors, were in charge of teaching youngers. So this kind of younger and elder relationship still had this kind of practice in Edo period, which continues nowadays. But these are the special education for samurai kids. So they wear very nicely. They are rich person. They are on the social status, top social status. However, many are like ordinary people. And for those ordinary people, there were around more than 50,000 community-based schools, so-called terakoya. Here, terakoya, non-samurai class students were taking classes. So compared to official Han schools, more small size, community-based, they are not facilitated much, but there were lots of such community-based schools around the nation where many kids were studying, even if they were not in the samurai class. Why they were so active in learning new things? Because even for non-samurai children, they also needed the skills in reading, writing, and in particular accounting to do their own businesses in the future, right? So samurai people are likely to be the government officials, while other students, other kids are likely to be an independent farmer or business merchants and so on. In order to do so, reading is important, writing, accounting is also important. Those skills are obtained through terakoya education. And as you can see, this terakoya is more likely to be community-based voluntary collaborative management by each local community, including temples. Temples also played an important role in Japan, and they were also in charge of education for local children. And as you can see, the Han schools and each region was quite independent with each other. So there was no standard curriculum at that time. Students were learning different materials with different pace based on ability. That was what was happening in the past. And this time period, many kids were educated either in Han school for samurai kids or terakoya for non-samurai kids. So through education, both at Han schools as well as terakoya schools for both samurai and non-samurai kids in Japan, overall education level significantly improved, which we saw in the previous figure. Between 1820 through 1868 Meiji Restoration up to 900, the graph sharply increased in order to educate the kids at the primary education level. Okay. So some key findings from the old style Japanese education system. Japan's recent educational achievement. Nowadays, we are doing great in PISA test score, and we learn what students learn and how teachers are recruited and developed in the current system. However, you can see Japanese recent education achievement has its root in Edan Meiji period, when they introduced new ideas to educate the kids more efficiently and effectively. And Japan's current education system still shares the same spirits from the old days, such as respect for teachers, elder-younger children relationship, responsibility, discipline, and so on. And not only academic performance, but also physical training was paid attention to. Nowadays, we go for swimming and jogging and so on. In the past, swordship was very important for samurai boys. And community involvement was still there, and we still enjoy the community involvement in the current education in Japan also. Okay, so it's almost time for my lecture seminar. So I'm going to conclude once again about the key messages from today's seminar. One, as you already know, education is very important, not only for each children or each parent, but also as a country as a whole. That's why many global leaders, including but not limited to the UK's Tony Blair or US President Barack Obama, emphasize a lot about how we should educate our children. Second, at the same time, there is no single best education system around the world. UK was trying to develop their own. US, their own idea on STEM, science and technology education. Singapore has its own, and Japan has its own. And of course, Indonesia has its own idea to most suitable for Indonesian children. Thus, each country is trying to identify and propose their own best. Okay? And thirdly, as you can see, there is no quick or easy solution to improve education levels. In Japanese historical viewpoint, we took several decades, or maybe several hundred years. It takes time to achieve the education level. However, we need investment today if we see the future education for the better ones. It takes time to achievement, but return is huge. That's why we have to take action today for our future and for our future generation. So this is going to be the end of our session. Thank you very much for listening to my lecture. And I'm very happy to have discussion with you for the following time. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much for your insightful presentations, Professor Gina. Please give big applause to Professor Gina's audience.
Thank you. Terima kasih.
I'm still amazed on how Japan's government put serious concern on education, Professor. And it's also engage parents, local communities, teachers, and so others who, and at the end, it can build a nation. And I think it's no time for Q&A sessions. We open the questions for audience. Please use your raise hand features in Zoom, or you can submit your question on chat or YouTube channel comments. Oke, silakan Bapak Ibu yang mau menyampaikan pertanyaan kepada Profesor Ginai, baik melalui Zoom meeting maupun melalui chat Zoom, maupun melalui kolom komen di YouTube. Oh, there is one question on chat, Professor Ginai.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your question and comments.
This from bidang perlindungan. Bidang perlindungan anak. I don't know, it's from provincial government or
Okay.
regency or municipality. Actually, I can say my name is Ratna. I'm currently involved in children protection sector. So I would like to ask about how does the Japanese education system deal with violence against children, such as bullying at schools and the usually rampant issues of sexual advances toward students from their educators. Is such issues in Indonesia, Professor?
I see. Thank you very much for your comments and question. And can I talk to Bidan? Hello, are you there?
Yeah.
Bidan?
Bidang perlindungan, Mbak Ratna,
Not here?
please show up your video.
Bidan there?
I think she's hidden, Professor.
It's okay.
Can
So
also be ready.
yeah, let me answer through my communication. Okay, so very good question. And violence and sexual harassment issues are quite serious issues around the world. And of course, Japan is not an exception. And especially bullying case. Bullying case is a very important issues and very serious issues. So nowadays, unfortunately, there are many cases. And of course, teachers and the school principals and the local community, the Board of Education are trying to handle. However, many people believe their effort is not enough because this kind of unfortunate case happens so frequently again and again. This is one potential reason nowadays, unfortunately, many parents are sending their kids more to private schools because public school should be governed by teachers and local government and so on. And they are very difficult to say that some students should not come to schools, right? For example, bullying person and so on. However, private school, they have more authority to say that those students should be expelled, removed from their school community. With this understanding, many Japanese parents are believing that private schools may be safer for children from this viewpoint. And this is a kind of the idea why we believe public schools should do more to prevent from sexual issues and violence issues, which are quite harmful to students. Our schools are also trying to work hard. However, unfortunately, many of us believe their effort is not enough.
Okay, Bu Ratna, is it clear for you? I think it's clear, Professor.
You?
Or maybe you can stop your screen, Professor.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, let me stop the screen first. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we invite more questions from audiences. Please feel free to submit your question on chat, or you can ask directly to Professor Jinai by using your raise hand features. Okay, we're waiting for question from audience. Maybe I can ask you question.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You know, in Indonesia, we have a curriculum merdeka or freedom curriculum, a curriculum that focuses on student-centered learning. So how can Indonesia learn from Japan's experience in creating an education system that balances flexibility and structural learning effectively?
So you mean what kind of education you mentioned? Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, we have Merdeka curriculum Merdeka or freedom curriculum.
Freedom curriculum.
Freedom curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
This curriculum focus on student-centered learning here.
I see.
Yeah, I think it has similarity with one in Japan. But how can Indonesia learn from Japan's experience in
I see. So freedom curriculum means there is no
flexibility, Professor.
I see. So this means no like a specified textbook or materials to be taught. More flexible.
Yeah, student can choose what they want to learn.
I see. So this is a kind of like the discussion among many countries. For example, Japan is known for centralized teaching. That's why we need to follow some specific textbook for teaching or specific materials because they are specified. So we have little freedom. By contrast, for example, Finland is well known for very flexible teaching methodology. Each teacher has independent own idea how to teach, what to teach, and so on. Very flexible. So we do have always a discussion, which is better, which is doing good, and so on. So from exam viewpoint, usually said, such as Japan, South Korea, Singapore, they are well known for preparing kids for exam, right? Study hard, memorize a lot, while the Finland system trying to educate creativity and so on. So there's always a controversy. However, from a Finland viewpoint, they also have trouble because they don't have a specific materials to be taught. Therefore, they are not always great in, for example, PISA test score. And their ranking is declining over years. Of course, PISA test score is not everything. However, as Barack Obama emphasized, if you focus on science and technology and so on, as a general understanding, PISA test score is also important to have an understanding of the basics. Therefore, sometimes Finland has an idea that they should lose their flexibility to have a specific material to be taught. But by contrast, Japan side, Singapore side, we say we are trying to educate kids too much with a specific, without freedom. So it's a kind of balance. Probably Indonesia should find where is the balance best suitable to you. Japan is quite little flexibility. Finland, lots of flexibility. Both have advantages and disadvantages. Very difficult to judge which is best. That's why my key message is there is no single best one. We are trying to find the best balance and a better suitable one for each country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your explanation, Professor. We still encourage to the audience to address questions to Professor Vinay. It's a rare chance, audience, you know, that Professor Vinay is so busy with a lot of research and teaching talks, but now he spent his time here. Actually, we truly honored to have you here, Professor. Okay. Wait. I think the most interesting part is character education in Japan, Professor. Japan is a nation that Indonesia look up to in character building, especially education in primary education. Can you tell more why Japan put emphasis on character education?
Yeah, so as you can see from the historical viewpoint also, many even like future leaders are grown up from those Han school or like a Terakoya school in the past. So they are teaching not from the academic viewpoint or professional viewpoint, but those old schools, old schools, they are trying to educate new leaders for their new future. And new leaders should have their character, how they need to manage their country, how they need to lead other people. This depends not only on academic knowledge, not only like English or reading and writing and so on, but also leadership, motivation, discipline also. Those all things, including characteristics, are very important to educate the future leaders. That's one reason why in the past, those new leaders were grown up those old schools, and still this kind of spirit continue in our class nowadays. We are, of course, trying to educate kids from academic viewpoint, but also social manner, social disciplines are quite important to be a well-beings as a good adults and who are going to lead the country and lead the region in the future.
Okay, that's great. And it's also, involves teachers as the most important part in education, Professor. But teachers' salary here is so low, especially teachers in primary education. So what do you think if teachers in primary education doesn't get a lot of attention from governments? They need academic or career development, but here it seems like a lack of attention, Professor.
Good question. So teachers
in Japan, how governments pay attention to teachers' development?
Okay, so first of all, the teacher pay and the budget issues are very important to retain good teachers, of course, for any country and in Japan also. However, as we see, the Japanese teacher salary is not very high. I mean, somewhere in the middle, not too low, but somewhere in the middle. However, if given the condition that teachers are working for long hours, as you found, right? If this is the case, many teachers nowadays in Japan believe that they are working so hard for long hours for the middle salary. So they believe they should be paid more if they have so much effort to educate kids. That's true. And there is one question in the chatting board about the budget. Unfortunately, Japanese education budget is not enough. Very low in terms of GDP. For example, lots of other countries are spending more proportion of GDP into education sector. With this proportion, Japan is very low, which means we don't spend enough money for education sector. This resulted in relatively lower salary for teachers, unfortunately. This is a big complaint. But one advantage for being a teacher is, of course, as a government official, local government official in particular, their jobs are quite secure, guaranteed for long years. So particularly for women who have some difficulties in finding a job in private sector due to gender gap and so on, there are lots of opportunities for female to have a job in teacher profession and work for long years. Basically, there is no salary gap between gender. However, such gap is huge for private sector. However, nowadays, once again, teachers are working for so long hours. They are so stressful. They are so tired. And we are so much trouble if such great teachers are going to resign from the public sector. Unfortunately, in the past, it was okay because teacher profession was socially respected. As I told you, sensei is a special wording in Japan. We believe primary school teachers, middle school teachers are respected people. We call them teachers and senseis. However, nowadays we are also losing this kind of traditional practice, and many teachers believe that they are not worth doing their jobs. Some people are more likely to quit the job, unfortunately. So this is also a big trouble in Japan. Our teachers were so great over years. However, we don't spend enough money on education sector, particularly for teacher salary. Or teachers are working for too many hours outside of teaching, which is a loss of their effort. So these are the challenges now Japan is facing. Maybe we need to allocate more budget wisely, and we have to reduce relax the pressure for the teachers in order to retain them in our public school sector. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Okay, even if you have low budget, you still have high quality education. That's different with Indonesia, Professor.
Yeah, so we really appreciate current teachers' great work, spending lots of time educating very nicely, even if the salary is not high. However, once again, now many people are leaving the profession, no surprise, but it's time to retain those great professors for our future. Maybe the salary issue is a quite important issue. That's why currently the government is also discussing how to raise the salary for public school teachers.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have a question on chat, Professor. So I will call Mr. Wiley Jordana. Please activate your video, Mr. Wiley. Mr. Wiley? Pak Wiley, silakan dinyalakan videonya dan bertanya langsung kepada Profesor Gina, karena saya lihat di sini ada videonya. Okay, maybe he's still busy. Okay, I will read the question, Professor.
Yep.
Hello, Sensei. I'm Wiley from BKAD Kabupaten Pasir. It's Pasir Regency. It's a regency in East Kalimantan. Oh, Pak Wiley.
Hello.
Please activate your microphone. Hello, Pak Wiley. Okay, you can ask directly to Professor Ginai.
Hello.
Unmute your microphone first, Pak Wiley.
Ya. Ya Bu, halo. Assalamualaikum Bu.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ya, Bu. Halo Mister.
Hello.
Apa tadi pertanyaannya, saya lupa tadi.
Oke, langsung dibaca yang di kolom chat, Pak Wiley.
Iya, siap. Halo.
Hello.
How do Japan school teach the values of discipline and cooperate to student?
Maybe I need to clarify first, Professor. The question from Pak Wiley is, how do Japanese schools teach the values of discipline and cooperation to
I see. Yeah, very good point. Thank you very much. So maybe I can go back to the slide to show you. So here in the slide, as you remember, how kids take actions at schools. So usually in a group work, as we discussed, usually students are assigned into several groups. For example, when they go to school, they are assigned based on the neighborhood. So those students living nearby, they are assigned into the same group. And once again, elders are respected and expected to be responsible for younger children. So in this group, as you can see, the person who is walking ahead, she's elder, and another lady who is walking at the back, she's also elder. Youngers are in the middle to keep safety, no one get lost. So this kind of group work is always a great opportunity for kids to learn disciplined actions as well as responsible manners. Here also, as you can see, that the person in front, she's saying something to those followers, right? Probably she's saying that please follow me, or don't play around, or don't go to the street side because the cars are running around. Maybe she's trying to guide them from the elder viewpoint. Of course, she's well disciplined and well collaborating with others. Or you can see here in class, they are likely to be assigned into group in class also. The group work is very important. For example, as you can see, lunch serving. This is a responsibility at the group basis. So one group is in charge of serving lunch for classmates for this week, for example. And another group is going to be in charge for lunch serving for another week. And those group members are working together, communicating with each other, who is in charge of soup, who is in charge of rice, right? What if some people come for the second dish? They have to learn together as a group organization. So these group works are everywhere in Japan, Japanese schools, on the way to schools, at school, even after school, or cleanliness. This is also done by groups. For example, one group is in charge of moving those desks and so on. Another group in charge of cleaning the floor. So as such, group work is everywhere where they are going to study responsibility and discipline and collaborative teamwork. So these group works are going to be the opportunity for students to become more social person and communicative person and collaborative persons, I believe. Thank you very much for your question.
Okay, Pak Welly, are you clear?
Yes,
Yes.
I understand. Thank
Okay,
you,
okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
We go to another question, Professor. It's from Muslim El Hakim. Do you remember him, Professor?
Oh, yeah. Hello. Hello.
Economic Development Program.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Muslim is now on board, so he hope you still remember him.
Yes.
There's questions regarding to the population in Japan. Is there any relation to strict education systems in Japan or other causes in populations?
So maybe he's wondering, population is declining due to this strict education. That's the question, maybe?
Yeah. Would you like to answer directly?
So he's now on the plane, right? Thank you for the question.
He's on the plane, but maybe you can answer directly. He can watch on YouTube, Professor.
So probably education itself has not had a direct impact of a change in population. And the population decline is more based on youngers are less likely to get married, for example, not because of the education, but because of they believe their future is not so, for example, in the past, Japan was growing very quickly. So tomorrow is a better day. Nowadays, from economic viewpoint, for example, Japan is also still struggling, which means for youngers believe that their future is not always bright enough. If the salary doesn't go up, they are so concerned about getting married, having kids, one or two or more, because education is costly and so on. If they think in such a way, when they may not be affordable, rich enough to educate like one or two kids, they are less likely to get married or less likely to give birth. This is more like an economic problem for Japan, I believe, not the education problem. But anyway, thanks for a good point that Japan is in a difficult time when the population is declined. Thank you.
Okay. I hope Mr. Muslim watch this on YouTube. Wow. Okay, another question, Professor, from Ahmad.
Yes, thank you.
How much government budget is needed for education in Japan? I mean the budget for educational supplies.
Okay, thank you very much. So today I didn't have the graph here, but unfortunately, as I told you, in terms of the proportion to the GDP size, Japan is among the lowest country, which means we don't have enough budget to spend for the public education sector, unfortunately. Usually in the education budget, we don't care about the total amount. We care about how much proportion compared to GDP, like a 5% or 3%, how much proportion you are going to spend. Other countries spend more, while Japan spend much less. So, which may be effective because still we perform very well in academic performance. However, as I told you, the teaching problem, teacher salary problem is everywhere. That's why we always discuss we need to spend more budget compared to the GDP size. And now the government has just decided to increase the teacher salary. Anyways, budget is very important for sure, not only for teachers, but also the supplies. Nowadays, lots of computers are needed, for example. Classrooms should be facilitated also. Anyway, thank you for very important input. Thank you.
Well, okay. I like your statements, Professor. That budget is not very important, but I think dedication is more important. Is it right?
That's a good point, exactly, right? So even if teachers are not well paid compared to other professions, their professionalism, dedication is very important. Contribution to the future is important. And if they feel they are socially respected, we also agree that and appreciate their work. Exactly. Thank you.
Okay. But we know that Japanese people also have a lot of philosophies like ikigai. Ikigai. They want like it's the calling. It's not like work, but it's a calling from inside themselves.
Good point. Good point. And probably teaching profession is a kind of such ikigai, what's a calling, which they believe this is their job. For example, if you want to earn more salary, there are lots of better jobs, more paid job outside of teaching profession. However, if they believe teaching is a great work to create future generation for their country, this is going to be the rewarding job. Not only the monetary reward, but also those contributions, and the proud is very important.
Okay, thank you, Professor. We still have several questions, Professor.
Yes, no problem. Thank
I
you.
will read one from Mr. Idam K. He talk about PISA 2022 world ranking. Japan obtained rank 4 with score of 533.0. So what strategies to produce superior human resource?
Okay.
Indonesia is still in bottom.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, the latest ranking is from Singapore, Macau, Chinese Taipei, and Japan. As I told you, those top 3 countries are very different in the sense very small countries. So sometimes very informative, but Japan is one of the highest ranked countries among those big countries. So Indonesia is also a big country, so Japan, the lesson may be very informative. And we don't have a specific focus on improving PISA test score. But as you can see, PISA test score depends on those basics. Basics mathematics, basic reading, and basic science. At school at Japan, we pay particular attention to the basic education, at least at the higher level. So therefore, as long as students study basic mathematics and reading and science at the regular schools in Japan, they are automatically well prepared for the PISA test scores, of course. We don't have a specific strategy, or we don't target PISA improvement test scores. But as long as you pay particular attention to the basics, basic curriculum, standard curriculum, as long as the quality is high enough, students should be well prepared for taking the PISA test score as well, as a consequence, not as a purpose. That's a key idea, how you should pay particular attention to the basics in terms of mathematics, reading, and science. This should be the most important subject for all the countries, I believe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I hope Mr. Idam's clear with these explanations. And we go to another question, Professor. Again, from bidang perlindungan anak, from there is no name here. So excuse me again, Sensei. Oh, maybe from Mbak Ratna. Mbak Ratna.
Yep.
The previous question, Professor.
Yes.
I'm very curious about the Japanese education system. The Japanese education system. Schools should be inclusive. However, in the practice, neurodivergent students, such as those with autistic spectrum and ADHD, are still often seen as burden in the class, but at the same time, it is hard for us to force the school to accept those students when the teachers aren't fully equipped to deal with them. So how does the Japanese education system raise school inclusivity for neurodivergent students?
Yeah, very good question and quite current problem wherever the country is. So in Indonesia and in Japan, now we are facing the same trouble. And probably we don't have a quick solution yet. In Japan also, as you suggest, the schools should be inclusive to welcome everyone and open-mindedly. At the same time, as you say, some teachers see those students problematic because they have to care. At the same time, we do have a special schools for those specific children, but we cannot force them to go there as long as we want to be inclusive. That's why we do have this kind of issue, of course. So one thing we can do in Japan also is we have a more like an assistant teacher, because in the past, basically, as you can see, as a photo shows here, especially in elementary school, one teacher was responsible for everything, teaching all the subject, reading, math, and so on, as well as their like social activities and class activities and moral education. Everything was on their teacher's shoulder. However, nowadays we have many types of different students which cannot be supported by a single teacher. So nowadays, each school at each class is supported by additional teacher so that he or she can support those students specifically. By doing so, we are trying to include all the students in the same class. At the same time, if some students need more particular attention, maybe a second assistant teacher can be helpful. That's what we are doing so far. But once again, there is no perfect solution at this moment. And Indonesia and Japan together, we have to think hard about how to make the schools a comfortable place for everyone. Thank you very much for your suggestion. Very important point.
Okay, Mbak Ratna, you can ask directly to Professor Gilai.
Thank you so much, Sensei.
Thank you.
Excuse me. There is a client currently in the room, so I can speak much. She's currently waiting outside, so now I can speak directly to you. Thank you so much for the answer, Sensei.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Very important issues.
Mbak Ratna from Children's Protection Divisions, Professor.
Actually, I'm not from Kalimantan. This link was arrived at our office too, and we are actually from across the island. We are from Cirebon. But I also seen this as something that's so very important to know in here, because children protection is something that in the educational system too, because education deal with children, and we are also trying to protect the children. So we think that this is something that we must know too. So that's why it's my own initiative to come here. So excuse me, Sensei.
Yeah, thank you for coming and thank you for sharing your experience and very important issues. Once again, those are quite new issues, right? Those types of students and violence at schools, very new issues where Indonesia and Japan are facing exactly the same problems, and we have to together find a solution to better educate all the children as inclusive institutions. Thank you very much for your proposal.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Rana, for questions. We still have one question left, Professor,
Yes.
from Bona Pardede. From District Education's divisions in West Java, Professor. What is the concept of developing teachers' competence in public schools in Japan that can be aligned with the vision of the Japanese government, as well as achieving the improvement of knowledge and development of learners in connection with the development of Industry 4.0, given the teachers are also the front line in education.
Thank you very much.
Could you
So,
get?
yeah, thank you. Very important question. And as you can see, overall idea at Japan's education at school is like a holistic education, not only teaching math and reading and so on, not the subject based, but also the holistic education. Like they also learn group manner, social manner, discipline, patience, and responsibility, as we have been discussing. So developing teacher skills should be the focus for those who can teach children in such a way. So we need a character person. We need the teachers who can teach such a holistic education, right? Therefore, the teachers should be the same as Buddy's the initial question about how we educated teachers. Not only those teachers, but also the leaders in the future who are going to manage and lead people. So the key idea is we also want to have such teachers who are motivated to generate new generation as a holistic characteristics education. That's the key idea. Of course, there are lots of curriculum and the path as an education for teacher development. But the most important idea is how to have such a holistic education by those teachers. This is a key idea, how we want to keep the high quality of education in Japan. But thank you very much for the suggestion.
Okay, thank you for explanation, Professor. Oh, Mrs. or Miss Surtina is raising hand.
Yes.
Please activate your video, Ibu Surtina. And you can ask directly to Professor Jinai.
Yes.
Miss Surtina or Mrs. Surtina, are you here? Can you activate your video or unmute your microphone? Oh, maybe she has a problem there.
It's okay, no problem.
Maybe me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another question for me, Professor.
Yes, sure.
So, no, you know that Japan has successfully implemented technology in enhanced learning outcomes. How can Indonesia, with its ongoing challenges of digital divide and access to remote areas, we still have a lot of blind spots, Professor, adopt similar approaches to ensure equal opportunities in education for all students? That do technology.
I see. So probably, so you can think in this way, Japan's education field is not using internet technology or information technology so effectively yet. We still use like more manual education system and so on. Gradually, they are equipped with computers and slides and so on, but still this is new. Some teachers, older teachers are not so familiar with using these gadgets also. However, many developing countries, for example, in last month, I went to Bhutan. Bhutan is one of a very small country and underdeveloped country. And I found in rural area also, they were using computers, slides, and teachers are teaching in English. I was just surprised how the Bhutan is trying to introduce new technologies very effectively, very efficiently, maybe much faster than Japan can do. So Japan has a great history in education, more for manual way. This can be advantage. At the same time, this can be disadvantage in order to become more like a technology-equipped facilities. Sometimes I see classes are not so well advanced from technological viewpoint. Maybe Indonesia is also suffering the same problem in particular rural areas, but you don't need to worry too much about that. As long as teachers can teach effectively in a manual way, of course, that's great. And computers and technology can accelerate such education. But it may take some more time. But don't worry too much about that.
Okay, so I grab the point that the learning process itself is the point, like, not the technology.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Well, we have one question more
Yes.
from Priscilla Iriana Kamasi. Excuse me, Sensei, I'm Priscilla. I'm a nutritionist. Can you explain about Kyushoku? Given at all levels of education, and is it supervised by a nutritionist?
I see, I see. Thank you very much. Okay, so 給食、So, just a second. Okay, thank you for your question. And 給食、Japanese school lunch, school meal. So first of all, school meal, basically for all the public schools, elementary schools, this lunch is provided. For middle schools, it depends. It depends on the budget by the ministry level. So municipality level. So for example, in my case, when I was a grown up in so-called Hachioji city in suburb Tokyo area, I didn't get school lunch when I was in a middle school because the Hachioji city government decided not to support this Kyushoku lunch program. So I had to bring lunch boxes, which was prepared by my mother at that time. But this is going to be a burden for mother, especially when several mothers are working outside. So usually more budgeted cities are likely to offer lunch programs, Kyushoku program, also for the middle school. It highly depends on the budget at the municipality level. But for elementary school, almost all are supported by this Kyushoku lunch program. And dietary things, nowadays, I mean, in the past also, of course, nutritionists are trying to check what kind of ingredients they are going to use. And nowadays, there are many students who have allergies. They have to be paid particular attention not to eat something, not to drink something. So they care a lot about what should be the lunch dishes for every year. And this is organized by the nutritionists every day for the like a monthly plan, what to eat and what not to eat. So this is quite nicely organized. And just by coincidence, my younger sister is working as a nutrition. So sometimes she's at school and providing school lunch for those children. Thank you.
Okay, Priscilla Iriana, I hope you clear with with Ginai Sensei explanations. We still have time. 12 minutes, Professor. Maybe you have closing statement.
Okay. Thank you very much. So today, it was a great opportunity for me to share my experience in my profession to many Indonesian government officials and who are interested in education. So first of all, thank you very much and terima kasih for your time. And I also enjoyed discussion with you to learn more about your issues in Indonesia. And once again, my key message is Japan did a great job in the past. And we can learn a lot about our practices, old practices and current practices. At the same time, some practices, some lessons you can learn from Japan. At the same time, others are not suitable to your context. Depending on your culture and history and tradition, you do have your own best. And it takes you time to identify your own best, but every country is trying to do so. Identify the best, improve further, and always updating to the modern society. So today we had a very nice communication, nice interaction, and we are always together to work for our countries in order to further improve our education systems. So I had a great time today. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you for your patience. And we are going to work together for our future. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih kembali, Profesor Ginai. Thank you so much for insightful answers, Profesor Ginai. I believe our audience has gained valuable knowledge from your responses. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to thank to Professor Yusuf Jinai from IUJ for sharing such meaningful insight today. We have learned valuable lessons from Japan's education system and explore practical ways to improve Indonesia's educational framework. To all our attendees, thank you for your active participation and thoughtful questions. We hope today's discussion has sparked ideas and encouraged further reflection on how we can collectively contribute to enhancing education in Indonesia. Please stay tuned for our upcoming sharing session. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. Stay safe and have a great day ahead. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Jane mata ashita.
Jane mata ashita.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Apa?
Okay, can I leave Zoom, Professor Jinai?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oke, baik Bapak Ibu, terima kasih atas kehadirannya di sharing session bilingual ini. Di waktunya sudah selesai, silakan kalau ada yang mau leave Zoom. Terima kasih Mas Mo.
Terima kasih Bu Badi.